Well, good morning there, and welcome to wild, windy, wonderful Oklahoma. Specifically, downtown Cushing, Oklahoma, which I have to admit I never heard of until yesterday when I decided to veer off Route 66 and go rogue. Cushing is certainly an out-of-the-way place, although we're not all that far from Route 66 or from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Cushing calls itself the pipeline capital of the world. I saw a sign to that effect as I was pulling through town, so an oil pumping part of the country. So I kind of thought when I pulled into town I would see crazy Mario pipes everywhere until I realized, hey, pipelines are underground, dummy. Clearly it was a sort of booming oil town back in the day. It's seen better days, although Broadway here looks pretty good. Look at this, they even have sort of a retro gaming store over here. A couple of murals out front. Obviously it was open up until pretty recently. Just doesn't happen to be open today. I don't know why Link is holding the three-eyed fish from The Simpsons, but I approve. Got a community theater there across the street. Lots of little shops and boutiques, although there is a lot of empty retail space. And I saw this as I was rolling through town, the downtown Cushing Centennial Park, and I was getting kind of excited. Because not only do they have this little miniature oil pump down here in the park, but also look at that little streetcar back there, a tiny little railroad car. I'm guessing some sort of old trolley or streetcar, although it could be a miniature diner for all I know. I don't know because I can't get to it through these bars. Gotta get through these bars so we can catch those thieves red-handed. What color are their hands now? Anyway, I have no idea where else I'm gonna go to today. I'm sort of wandering and roaming, but I love a good old American small town downtown. So I thought it was definitely worth wandering around before I take off. Look at these buildings built in the 1920s. One of them has become the Cushing Alumni Hall. They're very proud of the Tigers. They've got a saddle shop over here, Cargill Western Wear. I love this. See, clearly they really love their alumni. Welcome class of 1958. 65 years. Some Peanuts characters painted out here for seemingly no reason, but I love this, a little remnant of the past. Brooks Menswear. I don't think I've ever gone to a menswear shop, but I like that idea. I'm going downtown, honey, to the man's store. Gonna get myself a snazzy new shirt. Judging from the size of Broadway, I'm sure this was a booming town once, but it's a very small town today, which makes this downtown even more impressive, especially when you see they've got a little skyscraper downtown here, the Cimarron Tower. Apparently today it's sort of like a senior living center, but back in the day it was the Hotel Cushing. Normally in old downtowns, the bigger the old building, the more likely that it's abandoned, especially the top floors, but it's nice to see that they've repurposed this old hotel, though it's crazy to think of this little town needing such a big, fancy old hotel, but I guess in the oil boom years, a lot of traffic was coming through here. And I don't know why, but it kind of reminds me of the Shandor building, right? Spook Central from the Ghostbusters. I feel like Zool could appear at any moment on the top of that thing. I also like this, walking up across the street, they've got Oklahoma's listening room. Old songs sung here, so maybe a little bit of karaoke or a music venue. They've got this pizzeria and tap room, and look at this, they even have a little movie theater down here, the Duncan, which apparently is 100 years old this year, because up there on the sign it says since 1926. It's now showing Masters of the Universe. I wonder what people in 1926 would think of that. You can see some lovely downtown murals to explore, and then look at this, a big old store here in an old department store building called the Copperpenny Trading Company. Some antiques and stuff, it looks like, in there. I think I might just jump inside there really quick just to take a peek. Oh, wow. Look at this building. That is so impressive. Look at the old fans going. I'm not gonna lie to you, I was drawn into the store by this vintage mannequin right there, right? They're never for sale, but they're so cool. Dude, this place is insane. It is 3 stories tall in here. I'm trying to picture this as a department store, what it was like back in its heyday, man. Must have been cool to come downtown, do a little shopping in here. Whoa, I thought that was a person. Ooh, look at this little sign that says man room on the 2nd floor. Well, you don't have to tell me twice. Oh, this is weird. I felt like I was walking into someone's bedroom. Oh my gosh, what a setup. It's so well organized in this place, right? I'm wondering if this is the man room over here. We got a couple of saddles, an old water bag. We got some Coors signs and stuff in here. Ooh, I love getting these old Western magazines. Oh, look at these, the Frontier Times. I love it. I especially love getting vintage magazines about the Old West while I'm in the Old West and reading them in my hotel and stuff. Pretty amazing, dude. This place is massive. There's no way I'm gonna see it all. It's actually much less creepy than I was expecting. Look at this. Look at these old, like, gnome figurines. I've never seen any quite like that, and there's a lot of terrifying mannequins' heads. A little stutter there. I need some more coffee. This is definitely a hidden gem, this place. First of all, look at this, girls. I saw two things. First of all, look at that girls' Columbia bike from back in the day. It's a highway patrol bike. Now, if that was the boys' version, right, I would love to walk away with that. And secondly, I saw this. I take it back about this place not being creepy. On the third floor, it's a little more, Ooh, I like this little character, though. Look at this guy. Ooh, I don't like that. Look at the size of this place. Some pretty cool hand-painted signs somebody's making up here. Anne of Green Gables teaching uniform. Clearly there were a lot of cowboy fans in the town because I'm seeing a lot of Western-related books and things. Wow, there's a whole grip of vintage TV guides. Hey, Little House on the Prairie, I was just at the real one yesterday. Where else do you get an organ? Like, how do you get it down the stairs, man? That's 3 flights of stairs. Yeah, man, from the looks of most of downtown Cushing, the parts we really haven't explored yet, I was not expecting a store this nice. This is great. I could even get some crabgrass killer or some machine oil. All right, once again, I've lingered a little too long. Okay, so I just grabbed a couple of those old Western magazines, and the very helpful gal inside the store told me it used to be a huge furniture store and undertakers. There's a cafe downstairs at the back of the building. There was like 100 people in there, so I didn't want to whip out the camera. As she said, that was originally the chapel for funerals down here. So, weird. All right, well, as much as I love James Dean, maybe it's time to start pushing my way out of Cushing. Okay, the town's called Cushing, but that doesn't rhyme. I love these small town murals, man. I love that. Look at this guy with this. What's he doing to his snack tray? Bro, calm down. Always appreciate this sentiment right here. I'll do my best. Dude, what the heck? I have no comment on this, but there it is. Some unusual entertainment in Oklahoma, that's for sure. It's the kind of town I come to and I just have to wonder, what did this look like in its glory days? There's so much here. Look at the train depot at the end of the road. I don't think the trains stop in Cushing anymore. And off of Broadway, some of the other streets in town have definitely seen better days. The buildings are in a much more forlorn condition, although I love these old gas stations. Maybe it's because I just do so much highway travel, right? That to me, there's something kind of romantic about an old closed gas station. Somebody's got this building across the street doing work on some fancy cars over there. I mean, when you compare it to the other kind of literally burned out or boarded up buildings, I can even see 2 more examples just down this one street, Moses Street, I think it's called. Definitely makes you appreciate all the hot rod guys who will get old buildings like this and put their garages in them. It's hard to see through the glare here, but this particular shop is almost like a miniature car museum in there. A bunch of old collectibles, old cars, even old parking meters. I want to just keep on lingering. Ooh, look at that. Look at that old Sinclair station with the storm shelter just right to the left of the entrance, right? I want to keep on lingering. It's always hard to decide whether to explore every part of one town or explore as much as you can of multiple towns. Yeah, I started driving out of town. I had to pull over right away though, just to take a look and appreciate this. I don't know how many of these things I have seen over the years. I've never seen them sitting in a yard just for sale. Look at these squeaky clean new oil pump things. I don't know what they are. They always remind me of drinking birds, you know. I don't know what their technical name is. Oil pumpy, swingy, thingy, donkey, giraffe looking things. Well, now I know where to get one if I ever find black gold on my property. All right, a couple of dozen miles drive through the beautiful Oklahoma countryside, and we have arrived at another small town, Pawnee, Oklahoma, which is, or was at least from my understanding, the capital of the Pawnee Nation after the tribe was moved to Oklahoma in the 1870s. And of course, as with most places in the West, the railroad came along and then the oil discoveries, and it bloomed a classic American courthouse square style downtown. I was just gonna pass through quickly on my way to something outside of town when I noticed this. Right over here, one of these epic little historic looking buildings. This sign grabbed me right here. Dick Tracy headquarters. Of all the things I was expecting to encounter in Pawnee, Oklahoma today, the Dick Tracy headquarters was definitely not one of them. Not on my bingo card. But apparently Chester Gould, the creator of Dick Tracy, was born in Pawnee in 1900 and was raised here. And I can see all kinds of Dick Tracy memorabilia inside the historical society. So I'm gonna cruise in and see what we can see. Oh, no weapons. Dick Tracy wouldn't like that. Ooh. Feels better in here. Well, this is impressive. This is incredible. I was not expecting this. I guess you have to start with the rarest stuff. Look at that, some original Dick Tracy comics. First murder in cartoon history at the old Fisher's Bakery. Look at all this. Chester Gould. And oh, wow, look at the pencil drawings down there. That is amazing with the Rogues Gallery. Wow. Chester Gould Originals. I love that. It says PHS grad, 1919. So Dick Tracy was from Pawnee. Oh, here's one of his self-portraits right here. This is pretty amazing. Some of the comic books over here, and of course there's a lot of stuff from the movie. Look at this telegram about the birth of Dick Tracy, about his character being accepted. Check out these old VHS Dick Tracy serials, a Dick Tracy Crime Stoppers Club identification card. And yeah, like I said, there's a whole bunch of memorabilia, obviously, from the movie. But who knew there was all this other stuff on film, whether animated or old movies and serials? I had no idea. This is kind of incredible right here. Look at this. His grandfather built a log cabin out here, 6 miles east of the Pawnee Indian Agency. There's a little piece of it. So some deep Dick Tracy history in Pawnee. I love that. I love the little Dick Tracy hats and the coat over here. I love seeing all the movie memorabilia because, of course, that's the Dick Tracy of my time. One of the ladies in here was like, "You're a little bit young to know about Dick Tracy." And I go, "Wow, I grew up in the Warren Beatty era, right?" So all of this I remember. I remember them going bonkers with the merchandise. They were hoping it would be the next Batman 89. There he is right there, the Playmates figures. I had that guy, Dick Tracy. I also rented that game. I never owned that Nintendo game, but I rented it. Oh, I like the walkie-talkies. Look at that, there's Madonna right there. I believe Warren Beatty still owns the film rights because he keeps doing interviews in character to count as projects to keep the film rights in his name. But look, here's some older memorabilia. Look at that wind-up car right there. It's pretty cool. I don't know if you're like me, but if the more merchandise there is of something, the more I want to get into it. I don't know why. Look at those old playing cards up there. Dude, it's everywhere in here. Man, I had some of these guys. It's cool. It's like seeing old friends. That's not all that's in the Historical Society. Look, here's a mastodon bone. Information about the homesteaders out here. A whole bunch of information on oil. Look at this old Hot Tamales card. Reminds me of the Robert Johnson song. Look at that. That's what I'm looking for out on the roadside. I want to see these old places. Amazing selection of old cameras. Ooh, this is why I like small town museums, because you always see something you've never seen before. Look at this 1940s incubator from the local hospital. That is like something out of a sci-fi movie, right? He's not human, he's an alien. Something my friend Wet Tyler would be interested in. A lot of information, of course, about the Pawnee Nation itself. Look at this. I'm assuming that's a buffalo hide. We got some old cowboy hats, original ones, an old saddle from 1898. Like local townspeople donated these hats, and these are real cowboys. Original hats, right? You're looking at the real deal. Same thing with stuff like this, right? This is all old. Goes back to people in the town's collections. Amazing. Oh yeah, it's kind of never ending. There's a whole other side over here. Oh, we got our alumni section. Oklahoma loves dude, look at that Letterman jacket. Look how old that thing is. That might be, as far as I know, the oldest football I've ever seen. Oh, wow. Oh, this is a big military section. Oh, my gosh.
Just across the street, there's a brick for every soldier from Pawnee.
Oh, okay.
With an inscription.
Wow. Oh, Bradley.
Major General Bradley
Campbell.
And
that's
Brigadier
amazing.
General Teddy Sanford.
And they were from Pawnee?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. I like seeing the fallout shelter signs. World War I helmet. That's amazing. Oh yeah, you got all the uniforms.
And this is a silk flag that was actually Jim Hamburger, who flew in World War II. Oh,
for the parachute guys?
Yeah. So if they fell out or if they went down, they'd have the flag and it would not paper.
Right. Airborne, that's the word I was looking for.
He took that throughout World War II.
And there's this jacket, Captain J.J. Hamburger. Okay, dude, that was awesome. The people in there, it turns out, lived in Whittier, California for many years, so just down the road from me. And they were telling me there was a museum in Chicago where Chester Gould moved and lived during his career that had all this Dick Tracy stuff, that they donated it down here. And so now they are the only brick and mortar Dick Tracy museum in existence right here in Pawnee, Oklahoma. Oh, wow, dude, how cool is that ghostwriting there? Frontier Motors, Inc. Quality Parts and Service Headquarters. I'm just going on a little walk to go to an ATM so I can buy a mug, support the museum. They said it's a drive-through ATM, but nobody will mind if I walk through, so I'm just trusting them. How neat is it, though, to see like old 30s and 40s garages. Oh, and I guess this right next door is the Pawnee Public Library, and that's what I'm looking for, the drive-through bank. Feel a little bit weird about this, but they said it was okay. Okay, grab 40 bucks. Now I'm gonna go and get myself a Dick Tracy mug. Dude, quiet, peaceful, very small town. But that's why I love when they have those little museums like that and they're open. Something about the DNA of a museum volunteer like this. They genuinely make, you know, the best town ambassadors you could have. All right, gonna go inside. Oh, woo-hoo-hoo. There's my mug right there. Nope, I didn't get, Dick Tracy didn't come to bust me, so I'm back for the mug. All right, I got my mug. We were having a little conversation about how the weather in California is at least inarguably superior. Also, the lack of insects. Look at this. Look at this little small town movie theater. There's lights on in there. It doesn't appear to be, it isn't advertising any screenings. The tiniest little Main Street pharmacy. And then look at that. See, if I had been coming into town from another direction, I would have seen this first. Look at that. The Dick Tracy Chester Gould mural. Birthplace, 1900 Pawnee, Oklahoma. I never knew. All right, and now on to what I really came to Pawnee for, which is just outside of town a ways. Because before Dick Tracy, Pawnee was famous for a very different kind of entertainer. Something a little more classically Old West. Dude, Pawnee is so small. On the map, it looks like it's gonna be bigger than Cushing, but no. Itty bitty little place. Kind of cool though. This is what I'm looking for right here, yes. Don't ask me how I heard about this museum because I don't even remember. But this is the former home, the former ranch of Pawnee Bill. If you've ever heard of Buffalo Bill, Pawnee Bill was sort of the same deal. They were contemporaries and for a while even partners. At one time, Pawnee Bill was pretty much just as famous as Buffalo Bill, although much lesser known today. And this was his ranch and his home over here. It is now a massive park with some rodeo grounds and the Pawnee Bill Museum up here, which I have to check out. Now, the little bit I know about Pawnee Bill is that he was born in Indiana. I think he was a school teacher and an interpreter. And so he came out here to the Pawnee Nation to, I think, be an interpreter and sort of a trader. He worked as a translator and a teacher on the Pawnee Nation, became sort of a famous Wild West character, and then went on to have his own Wild West show. And at one point, he even merged his show with Buffalo Bill. Apparently made good money. Money enough to buy this ranch up here in Pawnee, Oklahoma, keeping it real. So that's about all I know. I'm gonna go inside and see what they got here and see if I can learn a little bit more. There he is, Pawnee Bill. I didn't know he was born in Bloomington, Illinois. It means he's born right on Route 66. Wow, there's his actual outfit and his wife May Lily's outfit. That was their real last name. There's their little boy right there. His actual clothes, everything in the museum was actually owned by Pawnee Bill. This is super cool, dude. Look at that freaking stagecoach up there. A couple saddles for the kids to sit on. Little information about lassoing and some of the characters in the show, like Mexican Joe. Dude, sorry for the LED strobing, but these are all items actually used in the old Wild West show, which is what sort of created the legend of the Old West, right? That would later be immortalized in TV and movies. Ugh. I need a sign like that. Apparently a lot of famous guests stayed up at the mansion, including Will Rogers and people like that. And look at this. This is amazing. This is where all the stuff is hiding. Look at that, May Lily, his wife. There's one of her dresses for one of her characters in the show. Look at those boots down there. There's a poster right back there from when Buffalo Bills and Pawnee Bills were combined. All the guys and gals in the show would have either been legitimate Western characters kind of coming out and doing their meet and greets, or would have been stunt people. Look at this right here. Carlo Miles, he played the chief of the bandits. Maybe it's the hair, but he kind of has a strong resemblance to Muddy Waters. Now see, there's a sign on the door of the museum that says no filming or photographs, but the lady inside assured me that it was fine, especially because they're going to be doing a big remodel of the museum. Oh, how cool is that? Reproduction of a 1901 billboard. Imagine seeing that thing, and that would have been pretty exciting this coming to town.
You bet your sweet buttocks it was exciting.
Anyway, they're going to be doing a big remodel of the museum soon, and so it's sort of just like, just do what you want, it's fine. It still makes me a little nervous, though, when I see a sign like that. But a lot of times museums were not very camera-friendly in the old days, but now that sort of YouTube and TikTok and everything's taken over, they appreciate how these kind of things can bring more people to the museum who wouldn't have heard about it otherwise. I like how this is all mocked up like one of the show tents. I don't like these crazy strobing LED lights in here. Maybe those will get replaced in the refresh. But this is kind of amazing. Hey, look at Pawnee Bill and Buffalo Bill together. Two most famous Bills in the West. Look at that. There's Pawnee Bill, a little younger than Buffalo Bill, so he sort of took up the mantle. Pawnee Bill lived until at least the late 1930s. I don't know exactly when he passed away, but he was around for a long time. There's even a recorded radio interview with him. Oh, look at that. Look at this piece of luggage right here. Pawnee Bill's Buffalo Ranch, Pawnee, Oklahoma. There's one of his rifles. There's one of his jackets right there. Advertisements for stuff that would happen on his ranch once the ranch was established. Big fireworks show at Pawnee Bill. Oh, no, that's at Old Town. That's at his attraction. This too? Okay. So the ranch wasn't really an attraction until after he was gone. Route 66 is the Will Rogers Highway, but I never knew US 64 was known as the Pawnee Bill route, or that he has his own movie studio producing films in the 1910s. Dude, and his Wild West show was absolutely massive. I mean, look at the size of the setup right here. It is absolutely enormous. This must have been so exciting to see, and I appreciate that the original stagecoach they used for sort of stunt shows and sort of mock Indian raids on the stagecoach and things is still here in the museum. But at first I was worried this is all that was left of the Wild West show until... It's pretty cool. Look at this little circus car organ left over from the Wild West show, and there's some posters out here. Not to mention, look at this, there was a book about Buffalo Bill and Pawnee Bill. They shared a book together. Anyway, I wrapped it up in the first building, and I was told to come out down to the barn down here. The lady inside was very, very friendly, very helpful, very nice. She even took a fun pic for me in there on the buckboard. Apparently the museum is not in full operation at this moment. Only on the weekends do they open up Pawnee Bill's actual house, so I'm not going to get to go inside and see the manor. But look at this. Look at the view he had from up on top of the hill, and I can actually see down there behind the John Deere green tractor some buffalo out there on the Buffalo Ranch. So this was the Buffalo Ranch, the property he lived on, and the poster. We were a little confused, both me and the lady who works here, on did they have Old Town and the Buffalo Ranch at the same time? Was the Buffalo Ranch only sort of advertised after he passed away? It was a little confusing. Look at this, you can donate to preserve the herd, I guess. There's some horses down here in the foreground, and then way off in the distance, I can see the buffalo herd. So there are still buffalo on Pawnee Bill's Buffalo Ranch, not to mention little picnic areas down there. I can see the rodeo grounds, the Wild West show grounds. She asked me if I was coming out for the Wild West show. I said, no, I'm just passing through, sadly. Look at this old wagon right here, hitched up to this old John Deere tractor. All I can think of is the song, Billy Bob loves Charlene. See what's going on inside the barn. Ooh, wow. Look at the size of this. Bigger on the inside. Dude, and look at this. It takes up an entire wall of the barn, a whole side of the barn. There is a massive, giant hand-painted billboard, probably painted on the side of a barn out there somewhere originally. Pawnee Bill's historic Wild West and war spectacle, 1,000 people and horses employed. Look at this artwork right here. It says over there, surpassing in truthfulness, intensity, and instructive features any exhibition of this century, realistic reproduction or actual frontier life, maybe this is of actual frontier life, by Indians, cowboys, guides, trappers, and famous buffalo riders from the western plains. Includes Mexicans, Gauchos, Arabs, Aztecs, and a detachment of Imperial Cossack light cavalry. Seats for 1,000 people under waterproof canopies. I mean, what an advertisement. What a mouthful, but what an advertisement, dude. The era of true DIY American showmanship. You know, the golden age. Okay, this says right here, this poster was donated by the citizens of Lamont, Oklahoma. It was used to advertise the show on October 27th, 1900 in Blackwell, Oklahoma. It was on the side of the barn, but the barn was remodeled into a drugstore. They plastered over it or put boards over it. So eventually when it was uncovered and rediscovered, look at the detail on this. You imagine there were dudes that could paint this well, right? With this much detail, and they were going out and just painting barns for this Wild West show. I wonder what they got paid. I mean, that is insane. It was amazing. Like, they rediscovered this and then put this in the museum. It belongs in a museum. Oh, and then look at this, another one of Pawnee Bill's Wild West show stagecoaches. I had no idea they preserved this stuff. You can get really up close and personal with it. What a collection, man. Oh, there you go. Look at this. The only real Wild West show in existence is Pawnee Bill's Wild West. Major Gordon W. Lilly, Pawnee Bill. Look at all these historic wagons in here. I'm assuming most of them are tied to the property. And look at this coach. That is a doozy right there. The door on the side says 1886. Look at this down here. This wagon, this covered wagon is from the bicentennial covered wagon pilgrimage, right? Like a sort of celebration. The bicentennial year, 1976, they had so many celebrations of American history, including this, like a whole caravan of covered wagons. Look at this amazing little chuck wagon over here. That almost looks like an automobile. You can see how like carriages and coaches were so close and similar to the first kind of cars. And look at this covered wagon right here. Made by the Springfield Wagon Company. That's an original old wagon. I think the coolest thing is that poster, man. That is mind freaking blowing. And look at this. This is the coolest part of all. They give you free posters. You could just come down into the barn and grab a bunch of these free posters in here. They're absolutely massive. You can rubber band them up together. I just have no idea what I would do with them. This poster right here is a section of that poster. I think they're both sections of that poster. And just the little sections they've turned into the mini posters are massive. Dude, I don't know what I need them for, but I needed a couple of those free posters. No idea where I'll put them. I don't know if they're leftover merch from the little gift shop. But by the way, this museum's absolutely free, if I didn't mention it already. And so I was thinking, well, they're supported by the gift shop, right? But they're giving away free posters too. This is awesome. Now, this is the kind of place you would think would have been inherited by Pawnee Bill's family, but apparently his wife had lost a child and couldn't have any more. So they did adopt a son. His name was Billy. Those were his clothes that we saw in there. Unfortunately, Billy got in an accident right over here, climbing this tower, not the one in the foreground, that looks like WPA, that looks a little later. But this one over here, you see that one that looks like a little windmill tower? So apparently he fell off that when he was 8 years old and did not recover. So yeah, look at this. Oh, we got the tool room open here. So a couple little more things open. Oh, cool. Oh, dude, I've seen a lot of blacksmith shops set up. Some sound effects, a lot of tools, explanations of what they are, what they're for. Pretty sweet, man. It looks fully armed and operational. Like, I bet they do demonstrations in here. Otherwise, why the bar, you know? Awesome. Man, what a place. I have to admit to you, like, I didn't know much about Pawnee Bill. I knew that he existed, mostly because I've been to the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum in Oklahoma City, which London and I just filmed a few weeks ago when we were doing Route 66. So I knew that he existed and he was one of the Wild West show guys. Oh, look at this. You can climb up in the stone tower. Well, when in Pawnee. Oh, that is narrow. That is not ADA approved, let me tell you. Dude, I can barely get up this thing. Granted, I'm not as slim as I used to be, but whew. Oh, wow, look at that. Yes, I knew he existed, but I didn't know much about him as a person. I didn't know anything about his ranch. Look at the way these stairs end. I'm not gonna go all the way up. I'm just gonna peek. There's no sign saying I couldn't. But I get the feeling that maybe I'm doing something that's rather off limits. Okay, now I wouldn't be surprised if someone got hurt on either tower. Duh. But anyway, this is why I like traveling. This is why I like coming to small town museums like this. Or I guess this isn't a small town museum, but you know what I mean? Small towns, out of the way places, because you'll find some obscure part of history that probably wouldn't be as celebrated if this was in LA or whatever. It would have been bulldozed for a strip mall a long time ago, right? I feel like people in other parts of the country have much longer memories. Oh yeah, see, now that I know this, I wish that lady hadn't told me the story of this tower, because that does make it indeed a little bit sad, you know? Anyway, there's the mansion. Off limits for today, but quite a house. Humble by the standards of mansions in LA now. Our greatest entertainers now kind of palaces, Amazon warehouses compared to this thing. Dude, but from my perspective, he's out here living the freaking dream, right? He's got his little spread. He can see his buffalo down there below him. And handily, he could also see the twisters coming for miles around from up on this perch, which I gotta play the local radio in the car because everybody's been warning me like, there might be storms coming later on this afternoon. Just be on the alert, So hopefully we don't reenact any scenes from the movie Twister out here today. All right, I'm gonna keep rolling. I spent a lot more time in Pawnee than I really thought I was ever going to. This is pretty cool though, the Pawnee Bill Museum, not what I expected. The Old Town attraction probably would have been more my speed if that still existed. It's a shame that it doesn't, right? Kind of cool if they ever got any extra grant money to recreate that on the grounds. Dude, the car's getting kind of full of stuff, but who could say no to a free poster, right? The last poster I picked up was 50 bucks. Now I got 3 for free. It balanced out the universe. Oh my goodness, it's like 10,000 degrees in here. What? All right, I'm headed out of Pawnee Bill's ranch, but I'm headed right on to the Pawnee Bill route, US 64 west out of town. And I noticed a sign that actually still calls this the Pawnee Bill Memorial Highway. Apparently Oklahoma does not forget its own. Just like Route 66, US 64 has got all kinds of pieces of ghost roads and older alignments and stuff. It doesn't get the press though of the Will Rogers Highway, does it? See, look at that. There's an old alignment, an original, probably 1920s alignment, old concrete, meeting up with the road right here. Somewhere out here was the Old Town location. She couldn't specify exactly where. She said there's nothing left, but I'll keep my eyes open. I definitely passed the spot she was trying to tell me about. There are some older buildings back in the woods, but I assume Old Town would have been right on the highway, you know. That's too bad nothing's left. Too bad. Dude, I love US highways, old US highways, so much more than the interstate because of the way they kind of roll with the land, with the terrain, you know. You go through small towns, small areas, especially like the old 2-lane portions like this. It's beautiful out here. I really enjoy drives like that, but I was hoping to stop and take a break in this little town up ahead, Morrison, Oklahoma, but it looks like it's actually a very little town. Sometimes you can't tell just from a dot on a map. I think there might be more grain silos in this little place than people. Sometimes those are the best towns though, man, especially when I used to tour with my band and we would have to stay with people in little towns like this, you know, away from where we played the show. You would just have some of the most fun adventures. Oh, look at this. Wow, 100%, dude. That's an old Pawnee Bill route. Gas station, maybe cafe, garage. Look at the garages on the side. Look at the parapets. A little castle style architecture. That's probably the home of the owner right there at the time. Amazing. It's one thing seeing those on, you know, Route 66. There still says candies in the window. There's still a little hold on, let's see if I can turn around. There we go. That's getting up close and personal. I was going to say, it's one thing seeing someplace like this on Route 66. By the way, I presume this would have also had a sort of castle shape on top. That looks like a much newer roof. It's one thing seeing something like this on Route 66 where there's 1,000 guidebooks written about it and it's mentioned in 1,000 places. Feels like another thing seeing it on Route 64. It's almost like you're discovering it, right? Look at that in the window. Cold drinks, candies. So this was a store for quite a long time. I was hoping if I got up close I'd be able to read what it said up there. I love this. I love finding these. I love the mystery. What was it? Nobody around to answer the question today, but back in the day, all Fram products were sold on a money-back guarantee. I don't know what a Fram product was, and the store's not open, so I guess I'll never find out. Okay, luckily it looks like Morrison does have an open gas station up here, somewhere for me to just stop and stretch for a minute and see where we're going next. See, my family, my dad's family in particular, comes from a little village in Canada that I got to visit growing up a few summers, and it was just as small as this, right? Like a very small place. There's a tiny little market. You know, the gas station is also the liquor store, is also the pizza place. You know what I'm talking about, Sinclair. You know a lot of these places. Something about them just has a way of going to my heart, you know? There are definitely some downsides to living in a Disney movie-sized town like this, but at the same time, there's so much more community. People know each other. Something about it that's missing from bigger towns. All right, kind of a long drive through a lot of grassy prairie to the next town, but the next town's kind of important because speaking of old gas stations, this next one coming up in Perry, Oklahoma is kind of a big deal. Supposedly, somewhere in Perry, Oklahoma is the oldest continuously operating gas station in the state, and I really want to find it. Well, that's definitely not it, because that's closed. All right, coming into town here. This is exciting. I'm getting stoked on this. Normally, I try not to pull out my phone and cheat and actually find it. I usually like to just snoop around till I find it, but I had to see this right away. Okay, it's not on 64. We got to go down here into the town itself. Here we go, headed down US 77 into downtown Perry. I hope I can find this. Oh, dude, look at that. I accidentally found a Buster Keaton mural down here. Was not expecting Buster Keaton. Next thing you know, I'm gonna find out he was born over here in Perry. There it is, look at that. Oh, dude, yes. Oh, and there's a little more to it than I thought, but this is it right here. The Chemnitz, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, the Chemnitz Sinclair Station, operating since the 1930s. Look at this, Oklahoma's longest continuously operating station since 1937, and they literally have the Chemnitz Oil Company since 1955 right there, pumping gas down into the tanks. That's the thing about these old gas stations, right? A lot of them went out of business because they only had 2 or 3 pumps or whatever. And then the tanks downstairs had to be upgraded when they changed the EPA regulations and stuff like that. So famously, a lot of them just, you know, packed it in and went, well, we can't compete with the bigger guys, or they just have to open a different, bigger location somewhere. Look at this. Still with the original 1930s yellow brick. Look at that cool Art Deco style. They got the Sinclair dinosaur up on the roof. 3 pumps out here in this little station. Look how old school the pump lights are. I'm pretty stoked on this. You can see it looks like they expanded and added a garage at some point to expand the operation. I noticed they got a little diesel pump back here in the back, so they were doing everything they could to make the most of the space. I don't think it was originally a Sinclair station. There's a plaque right here. Let's find out. Oh yeah, it says DX Service Station, 1937.
Thank you.
Oh wow, look at all this.
And it has never changed. It's always been the same, and we've kept it that way. We've been here 71 years.
This is amazing. That's my name's Justin.
I'm Craig Kimnitz.
Oh, nice to meet you, Kimnitz. Okay, so that's how you say it.
Yep,
This is so cool.
My dad bought it in 1955 when I was 18 months old.
Really?
And carried me in here, and here I am.
So it's just never. It was DX Station first.
It was DX. I mean, we had different brands. You know, companies sell out,
Right.
whatever. But Sun Oil Company started at what Tyler knows the date, November 11th, 1937.
Wow.
And they built it out of Tulsa. They came here from Tulsa and built it. And it was DX until 1985. But anyway, it was DX. And we had 2 dealers. We had, guy's name up there, and then Glenn McCauley, and my dad bought out him in 55, but we was the first owner. We bought the gas station and oil company in the 50s from DX out of Tulsa.
Wow.
But the place has never been closed down. It went from them 2 guys to my dad in April of 55. So I was carried in here at 18 months old.
Wow.
I stayed with Dad. My brother Brent was born Perry in 56, and he's assistant AD of Wichita State and was baseball pitching coach 38 years, and he'll be here in about 15 minutes. But anyway,
so these are original, right? So
yeah,
look at that.
Yeah. Where do you live?
Kimnitz, Anaheim, California.
Anaheim, California.
Right by Disneyland,
Okay.
yeah.
There you go.
That is so cool.
You had to do that in 89,
So
put in
80
new tanks and stuff, or you locked them up. My dad
Right.
had the money to do it.
That's so
And then,
cool.
yeah, we have new tanks, we have new lines, we have new dikes around tanks.
Wow.
We jumped through a bunch of hoops for nothing, but they made you do that in 1989. And it's sad because it made most mom and pops go broke.
Right, and that's why you see a million little filling stations just shut down. Whoa.
They go around.
Oh, they got
and
the
take
bell rope.
pictures of ones that are closed, which is fine.
Right.
It's historic. But this, I always tell them at the History Center. I'm on the board down there. I'm a Route 66 board.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oklahoma History Center. But I always tell them, you need to take pictures of a place that's still going.
Yeah.
Not when we close and we're dead. That's what it used to be. It's what it is today.
Not a lot of room in here, though.
No.
That's pretty awesome. I saw you get the building next door, too, so they just expanded. I mean, it looks like they added the second bay, too.
That's the second base here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when everybody done wash and grease cars before quick lubes and all that.
That's so cool.
The east room was the washroom. This room here was you done the lube oil filter.
Right.
And you would do that. And in the mornings when I come to work, it was my dad to have wash lube oil filter, Ford or Chevrolet, and have it all on the pad and try to check it off and what you needed to do this afternoon.
So I love that you still have the bell hoses out there so you can hear people pull up. And the dinosaur, look at that. That is so cool.
And the dinosaurs on top of the station.
Yeah, I saw that. What about that other building over there? That says
That is
Kimnitz
mine.
on
I
it?
keep antiques and stuff over
Oh,
there.
that's so cool.
So
just into history. I love it. Well, look at this. This is awesome.
And have you heard of Sonic Drive-Ins?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, one of the founders of Sonic, right here in the middle, Marvin Gyrus, he washed cars here in the 40s, right there.
Really?
He washed cars here.
And it just
He was
started
Dairy Boy.
one town over, right?
Yeah, and Sonic was, the first one was in Stillwater, Oklahoma, but before that they called it Dairy Boy, and he got in with a guy named Troy Smith out of Shawnee. They started up the first Sonics, and there they are today.
Oh, that is
so
cool.
Yeah.
I love that he just came outside and said, you might as well come in, and just gave me this whole thing. I asked him if he had sons that were maybe going to take over. He goes, no, but these 2 guys, You can't just let anybody run a place like this. How cool is that? He made a really good point about everybody loves to take pictures of them when they're empty, much like I was doing earlier today on Route 66, but you rarely get to see any little mom and pop still open. We were going over that history too, 1989, those EPA tank upgrades like I was telling you about. None of the little mom and pops really survived. We had a little tiny station like this in Buena Park, California, right by Knott's Berry Farm when I was growing up. It was still full service, and I would go over there all the time and talk to the old fella who'd owned it since like 1960 or whatever. And that was the last one I know of near where I live, and it is completely gone now. I'll tell you, this is kind of amazing. And look at this, you can't get the money shot of the old station like you can on Route 66 because it's busy. People are freaking pumping gas right now, pumping gas into the tanks. And boy, what a smell. Do not light a match, everybody. Pumping gas out of the old tanks. Look at that, I love the Sinclair dyno on the roof. This is just amazing, and it reminds me of Back to the Future. There's this little gas station with the little bell ropes and the whole thing right in the courthouse square. You know how one of the first things Marty McFly sees is the Texaco station and all the little Texaco attendants running out to wash people's windows and change the oil. Now I feel like I'm experiencing that, right? A little Mr. Sandman. Well, actually, it's a different song playing out here. But that is so cool. The oldest continuously operating gas station. Look at the old Noble County Bank. I'm gonna do my favorite thing and take a little stroll around the courthouse square, around the downtown. Just love the downtown walkabouts. And see what else is going on down here in Noble County. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I thought this was gonna be another veterans. Oh my gosh, look at this in front of the Noble County Courthouse. Look at this pioneer statue. I thought this was gonna be like another veterans memorial until I saw the expression on this guy's face. He looks wild, man. His wife looks a lot calmer over here. These pioneers riding on the buckboard across the prairie, I guess. Devoted to the people who took part in the greatest land rush of all time, the land rush to the Cherokee Strip out here, to get out here sooner. This guy really wanted some land, right? Mr. Kimnitz was just telling me that this courthouse is where they put Timothy McVeigh in jail after the whole Oklahoma City thing. Look at the fallout shelter sign right there on the courthouse. I love seeing those, you know. And then we've got some beautiful old downtown buildings here all around the courthouse square. A lot of them are still open, still being used, although I can see upstairs here the windows are blown out a bit. And look at this in the center. What the heck is this? The Perry Wrestling Monument Park. Dude, people are really proud of their high school teams out here. What the heck? Yeah, see, I'd wrestle a little harder too if I thought my name was gonna go up on a plaque in the park. Now, I like how somebody has gone through the trouble of putting all these plaques out here about all these various buildings. A bunch of tiny little clothing stores, financial services, insurance offices, tax places. Of course you have that right by the county courthouse, but look at this. Look at that incredible neon marquee. Come Back Lunch, established 1926, serving nostalgia on a plate. Now see, this is why I wish I did not have celiac disease and I could afford the luxury of risking eating at some place like this. Since 1926, thank you for 100 years. Good friends, good food, good service. Dude, I went inside to take a peek at that place and it was absolutely the cutest little thing ever. They had an old original Route 66 shield in there. Everybody was really nice. In fact, the lady told me, come back and eat sometime. It's kind of amazing, 100-year-old little diner over here. Look at this, we got some cowboys up in the roof. I also noticed in the back of the comeback, I don't know if you noticed that, a bunch of guys in suits kind of having a little meeting in the back room, right? A little Illuminati meeting maybe to run the town. Again, another place that's kind of hard to get to, right? Unless you're from Oklahoma and you could drive out and for a few hours out of Oklahoma City or whatever. But like when I was in a punk rock band, right, it was pretty well traveled, but nobody ever booked us in Perry, Oklahoma, so I'd never come out here before. So I had no idea all this great stuff was out here. That's why you gotta pull over, you gotta look for those little dots on the map and drive down those little skinny lines that everybody's afraid of and see what's down there. It's amazing, right? They attempted to build the very first like stone and brick permanent structure in the town square right here on this site. The Globe Building, 1894. This right here was a bookstore, I believe, next door to it. I love walking around and reading these plaques. Without them, I would never know that there used to be a pool hall upstairs in this building. It just makes the whole thing fun. Every main street in America needs to put out little plaques. That's why it's so cool that Disneyland's Main Street started doing that up here for the 70th anniversary. Little Main Street Historical Society plaques. Jerry Seinfeld? I'm like from the leftover mid-century suburbs, right? An 80s kid growing up in the mid-century suburbs. I don't think I could survive in a big city. I don't really think I could survive in a small town, but my heart is way more with the small towns than the big cities, that's for sure. Oh, look at this. The Cockrum Oil Co. on the other side of town with their little gas station. They couldn't hold out to those tank changes, I guess I was talking about. It's crazy to think though that there was once, you know, a little filling station on each side of the downtown square on this same road. Look at this one. Look at this little look how funky that is. Do not adjust your set. That is actually like built at the freakiest, weirdest little angle right there. That is the ittiest, bittiest, little, most bizarrely shaped, I think it's actually triangle shaped. It's a little triangle shaped building right here. For the filling station, man, that must go way back in the day. Obviously it expanded. They built another building here for the lubrication, for the oil changes, the belt changes and all that kind of stuff. But look at that. I don't know who owns it now, but I like how they got some patio furniture sitting out here. Oh, there's the old bell rope thing right there for full service. Drive across that and you get that ding ding we were hearing in the other station. I totally believe this must have closed in the 80s because look at that. Modern Conoco logo, sort of a more modern men's restroom sign up there. Looks about right, you know, to me. The patina on that looks just about right for a 1989 shutdown. I'm still buzzing from Mr. Kimnitz, you know, he was so enthusiastic. Now I'm enthusiastic. I just want to run around Perry, Oklahoma like a little fool now all day long. Now, I know you can't hear it and I know I can't play it for you, but on speakers all throughout the downtown, they're playing old blues and jazz records, maybe from like the 20s to 30s. Sorry, I'm stuttering so much. I'm getting kind of brain lock out here. It's very warm, much hotter than it looks, let me tell you. Somebody's got good taste, man. This is good stuff. Oh, look at this, you can't fight this building. You can't fight that. Awesome, dude. Perry, Oklahoma. Fun visit, a fun walk around, and the oldest continuously operating gas station in the state of Oklahoma since 1937 with a very proud owner. What the heck is this? Snow White, Gothic Snow White is sitting in front of some kind of store full of skeletons and jack-o'-lanterns and dog skeletons. I don't know what's going on with this right over here. 620 Cedar Street. Creepy though, in a fun way, you know. If I had little kids out here with me, I'd tell them, ooh, watch out, that's the haunted building, you know. Anyway, I guess we better get back to the car because I haven't really gone all that far distance-wise today, and I do have to get all the way home to California eventually. I still have no concrete, wait a minute. Another alumni association building in the down, what the heck is this? I still have no concrete plan for getting home. I don't know which route I'm gonna take. I don't know if I'll end up on Route 66. Probably I will. The gravity will pull me towards it after all. I mean, that's the main route between Oklahoma and California, which is where I'm going. But I love going rogue, man. I love just wandering out, choosing my own adventure, getting my own path, going to the small towns, like I say, on the scary little lines that most people avoid. And oh no, here comes Mr. Kimnitz again. Just taking a walk around.
North side, have you went over to the come back to the bay?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good.
I went in there. All right, Mr. Kimnitz is telling me there was only 7 of those Conoco stations, like triangle shaped like that. Well, shaped like the logo, duh. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
That is so cool. This is amazing. I hope this lasts for, you know, another 50, 60, 70, 80 years.
You and me both.
That's great.
In my second building, you probably looked in the window.
Not yet. I was just going that way.
Well, okay. It has got a 53 Ford pickup. My dad bought this in 55, but the 53 Ford pickup was along with the deal. It went with this, and it's in the front window of that second building.
Oh, that is cool.
And then the 1925 Studebaker's sitting there in the window, a coupe that I found when I was 5. And I keep bugging the guy, wanted the old car, and when I got to be about 20, he came said he would sell it. But my dad was in there, and I had just bought a new silver 74 Vet. My dad said, you don't need it. So my uncle got it, took it to Moline, Illinois, and for my 70th birthday, it came back home, and I put it over
Oh,
there.
that's amazing. Yeah. Dude, that is the funniest, like, nicest guy. He's getting all excited, like, if you come back this way, we'll spend a whole bunch more time. We'll go in the buildings, check out the antiques. Pretty freaking cool, man. Him and his brother are sitting up in there, telling those stories, just super nice guys. Look at this, I like how they have the old DX logo right there, and look at this inside the, I don't know how well you can see that. That is an ancient Sinclair dinosaur. That is baby Sinclair right there. Look at that thing, dude, not the mama. And then there's the old DX sign behind him. This is astounding. And because of the plaques, I happen to know that this was a cafe in 1912 next door, this little building that also has the Sinclair sign on it with the Chemnitz brothers hand painted in the window. 70 years in business, look at that. As of 2025, so 71 this year, was the old Sunfield grocery store. Dude, look at that inside. Oh, the collection is massive. If I didn't have to keep rolling, man, me and Mr. Chemnitz would have a time. Luckily, I'm talking to Mary Beth Babcock from Buck Adams Atomic Curios about doing some kind of maybe event together, get me to fly out to Oklahoma later this year, early next year. Would you come to an Oklahoma meetup? Maybe buy a bottle of hot sauce, huh? Help fund the trip. Or you could always join Patreon. That helps fund every trip, including this trip, and including this trip in the future, because I'm in a lot of debt for this trip. I just love it. He just has the one gas station. He's got some commercial contracts to help keep him afloat, but he's also got his own distribution company. They go pick it up from the refinery themselves. They have their own storage facility. They pump their own gas into their own tank, so that truck didn't have far to go after it was done pumping. For the record, in between just about every couple of clips you've seen, Mr. Chemnitz was running out here and talking to me, telling me little stories. That dinosaur in there, the skinny one, was carved out of driftwood and brought here from a guy who used to work at the oil wells and everything after he passed away. There's a story for everything in Oklahoma. And look at this, the clouds are rolling in. I think that's my signal to move along. On a personal note, my problem with these type of adventures is I never know when to stop. I want to just keep rolling and rolling and rolling the camera all day. I want to include everything, every little business, every little antique shop, every little weird object, every little roadside pullout, every little landscape shot. Then people complain that the videos are too long, right? And then I wear myself out and I get tired the next day. People always say, what would you do if they gave you a TV show, right? Or something like that, or you had no budget limitation. I would just travel more and hire an editor to just edit so I could just keep filming all day and just roll every small town, every little gas station, I would like to visit every small town in America. I don't think that's physically possible. I'd also like to travel every numbered highway in America, right? Like every US 61, 62, 63, all the 60s at least. Maybe travel US 77 right here, right? Lucky number 77. There's so much of America to see, and it's weird. You can be in one small town and you just feel like bad vibes, and you come to the next small town, somebody like that hops out, and you're just having the time of your life. I'm learning about Dick Tracy, for goodness sakes. I made a mistake, gotta turn around. Guess I better stop talking for a second and concentrate on getting to the next town. Dude, I'm such an idiot for not figuring out that this was a triangle shape earlier. Of course it is. That's the Conoco logo, is a triangle, right? I've actually seen pictures of them before, but it did not register to me. The rarest Conoco of them all. Hey, wait a minute, what is this? Hello? Excuse me? I think you're supposed to be inside that fence. Don't you? How did that cow get out? You jumped the fence? Are you a little fence jumper? He's a loner, Dottie. A rebel. Or she. They. That cow right there. That one. Rebel cow. Hashtag rebel cow. Dude, I'm loving these little Oklahoma state highways out here, man. These little two-laners, little railroad bridges, loose cows on the road. Yeah, I love it. I love the mom and pops, the small towns, the main streets, no matter what shape they're in, the little back roads, the small towns, cemeteries, just the back roads of America in general, man. It's just my favorite thing, you know, but the best part of it to me is definitely Main Street USA. And this part of Oklahoma has a particularly special Main Street USA, which is why I've gone way out of the way to come to Marshall, Oklahoma, and what is supposed to be the widest main street in America. And dude, I'm not gonna lie, it is pretty wide. Holy cow, dude. Pictures are not gonna quite do this justice. There's only 210 people in this town. A town so small, even the churches are boarded up now. City Hall is so tiny and has such a tiny budget, they couldn't even print a sign. Look at the sign out front for City Hall. I've been in a lot of small towns. I don't think I've ever seen that before. But apparently at one point they had some pretty large dreams of growth, because look how wide this street is. Dude, the side streets are pretty wide too. Look, you can get an idea way down there at the end when these crazy wide downtown streets transition to a normal width street. Look at the contrast right there. Main Street here in Marshall, Oklahoma is supposedly, according to roadside legend, 6 feet shy of being the same width as a football field. Not length, right? But across this, it's supposed to be just as wide as a football field without any end zones. I'm not a big football guy and I don't have a tape measure, so I have no way of confirming that, but it is absolutely massive. There's a couple of different legends for why, right? Like one of them says that a team of mules or a team of horses, I've heard both, with a wagon on it, did a U-turn and they measured that and that's how wide they decided to make the streets. Other people say it was done to accommodate like angled parking on both sides plus 2 lanes of traffic. That's the one I believe, right? Because you gotta figure the guys that were out here boosting the town, promoting the town, which had been moved from an earlier site that was too far away from the railroad tracks. All those guys trying to sell that land, dude, they had to pitch Marshall, Oklahoma as, you know, the next Kansas City or the next St. Louis or Chicago or Oklahoma City or whatever it was, right? They wanted to build the infrastructure big to accommodate the dreams. And well, as you can see, mostly the dreams have turned to dust. You know, I was saying good vibes, bad vibes. I don't get any bad vibes. No people have come out here since I've been here, but that just makes it eerie. I'm getting eerie vibes out here in Marshall because clearly people saw me roll into town. There are clearly people around, but I don't see any of them. Look at this, the roof has collapsed. The brick walls have collapsed in here. Nature is taking over. Vines and trees. Yeah, this is one of the most eerie, spooky, Silent Hill type places I've ever seen. If it got foggy right now and the tornado sirens went off, I would run for my life. I do appreciate that at some point, somebody was coming out here and painting the windows and trying to make the place look a little happier. I don't remember bars being on these windows. Look at that, I don't know if you can see that. There's tin roofs still inside of these Main Street buildings that are, you know, obviously that whole store on the end is collapsed inside. This one looks like it's headed that way too. Oh, it's so hard to see in those windows and even see what this was. And I don't know if you can tell, I can actually see this wall bowing out a little. I'm used to the American small town, you know, having empty storefronts and a few buildings falling down, right? Like you got the Kmarts and the Walmarts and everything outside of the town. It killed the town. Everybody knows that story. But there is no Kmart and Walmart here. There's nothing outside of this town but corn. Maybe that was the problem, right? Everybody moved away. I don't know. I mean, how could you just watch all of it fall apart and everybody leaving? Nobody did anything? That's why it feels so eerie, right? It feels wrong. Or at least somebody out here still has a little patriotic pride. I can hear at least one rooster crowing off in the distance. 210 people, man. In the 2020 census, the whole town could come out here and easily fit in Main Street, just holding hands across Main Street right here. Yeah, look at that. This is literally wide enough for what, 8 lanes of traffic, 16 cars side by side. One of the few websites that mentions anything about this claims that there was an old town postcard with 16 old automobiles side by. I mean, there's probably Model Ts, probably not as wide as the Cadillacs and stuff, but it is huge. Look at that car parked to the side there. Now look at this freaking big old Mack truck coming down the road. Look how tiny that thing looks compared to the width of what claims to be America's widest Main Street. It makes that claim and yet has no sign out here, no memorial, no goofy little stall selling tourist t-shirts. Look at this, dude, I'm standing in the middle of the road and I feel absolutely no danger. By the way, that was not a Mack truck, I know, it was a Ford truck. Look at this in the middle of the road. It's just this sign here, nothing to protect it, no island, no median, doesn't need to be, there's no purpose for that. The crazy part is, like, there's not really all that much graffiti or stickers or vandalism. I don't think anybody ever comes out here, you know? And yet the man in the Ford truck going to the co-op down here, which does appear to be open, maybe the only business open in town, didn't even look at me. Something about the flag flying, you know, what so proudly we hail out here in a totally dead town is very weird and eerie. This seems like the kind of thing there would be a Hulu documentary about, right? It's like the Oklahoma version of Darwin, California or something. Except I guess nobody poisoned the water hole. And oh, thank goodness. Okay, I see one guy down there in a normal house, weed whacker in his lawn. So, okay, there's somebody around here. That's all I wanted to know. Yeah, look at that. This is the most desolate small town I think I've ever come across. It wasn't just a pure ghost town where everybody left. This is, I can't explain it. It's a whole different kind of feeling standing out here. Man, it's like if you told me that this was a happening town, a prosperous town, and then it got hit by like a F5 tornado and never recovered, I would totally believe you. That's sort of what it looks like. And granted, like the Oklahoma weather on the regular is spitting out storms that can slowly but surely tear every single one of these businesses apart. Oh, that looks like a bullet hole in that one. 2 bullet holes coming from the direction of that neighborhood. Great, as far as I know, you know, there's no story like that about this place. It's just sort of, what the heck is that thing right there? Big old hatch on the side of it. A porthole on wheels, an old safe. It must be an old round safe. Yeah, there's no story like that. It just sort of fell apart slowly. Never recovered. Definitely more insects than people, but I guess you could say that about any town in Oklahoma. There's trees growing inside of this place. The door's open. Let's go check it out. Kind of a strange way to, oh man, you know, after our last stop, so exciting about the preservation and the hanging in there, and then this is the polar opposite. Then again, that's what I love about coming out to small towns. By the way, they have the widest main street in America. I don't know what this street's name was, you know, let's say Elm Street or whatever. They got the widest Elm Street too, because the cross streets are absolutely massive until you get to the residential areas, and then they have medians in them and they're double wide. It's huge. I don't know, maybe it's like a steep hill and it's hard to film and show on camera and really get the feeling across. Standing out here and watching how narrow a normal car is and then how wide the street is very bizarre. Also, it made me feel better that that lady did look at me. She stared at me like, what the heck? And I don't know why. Made me feel way better. Look at this. See, the tin roof is coming down. Look at the old checkered floor in here. I don't know what that was, a counter, maybe a bank counter, because there's a big safe back there. You know this building, the roof is coming down like the rest of them. In any other town, if there were people here, you know, you'd pull out the big safe and try to save it. Yeah, that's probably a safety deposit box room over there, like a walk-in safe, and then they got a big safe out front. There are so many wasps coming out of these buildings. I guess there's nobody here to pull stuff out. Somebody was using this to work on cars here. The whole building's open. Back to front, some RVs parked behind us, gas cans and tools and stuff in the back. Old workbench. Some old light fixtures. Somebody could come out here and, oh, look at that display case right there, like the pie case. Somebody could probably come out here and do quite a bit of architectural salvage. Oh, dude, look at how terrifying this is. Oh, no. See what I'm saying? Creepy, dude. Full Silent Hill out here. Sorry, not my best camera work, but I'm just spooked out. I'm spooked out and there's people around. Someone put a fence over the front of this one at least. Let me back up here to try to fill this in, presumably when that one collapsed and the others were still intact, but you see this one's just totally gutted out. So whenever that roof fell in, they just sort of cleaned it up. Somebody was cleaning up the town at that point, but these other ones that are boarded up have completely collapsed, and they are totally still full of roof and brick. You can see here, even the exterior wall of whatever this building block was completely collapsed. Somebody had some storage sheds in there for a while, but it looks like the walls came down and kind of ruined that. This is where the rooster's crowing from, and somebody's got a trailer back here and they got their car parked in front of it, so maybe not the best place to point a camera. But yeah, Marshall, Oklahoma. Supposedly, according to them, the widest main street in America, although I'm sure there are other towns that probably make a similar claim. Dang, other than the wind, even the rooster stopped. A couple little chirping birds, a little bit of wind through the trees over here. Absolutely nothing going on. Boarded up houses, boarded up churches, boarded up businesses. Seems like the volunteer fire department and the co-op and the grain elevator over there are basically the only things intact in town. The street is so wide, I gotta do 0.5 just to get the whole width of Main Street and show any buildings or cars on either side. Man, I don't know why. I didn't know anybody in this town. I have no connection to it, but something about this, instead of being exciting like a ghost town, you know, where everybody voluntarily packed up and left, or the silver played out or whatever, this just makes me so sad. Just looking at all these brick buildings that people built with so much confidence. This one, at least at some point, was a bar and a grill, and you know, that's a place where people hung out and laughed and spent time with their best friends, and then for it all to just end up kind of being nothing, it's just, ah. But then there's so many of us living in big towns, right, that are crammed with people. We can't get anything. We can't get real estate. We can't afford to buy homes, especially people in my sort of generation there, you know. And then there's all these small towns across America just ripe with opportunity for creative, weird people to come out and do something bizarre and different enough that hopefully it pulls people off the highway. But I guess Marshall, Oklahoma is just too far off the highway to do it, at least with its weird, wide, wonderful Main Street. Just trying to think of some way to illustrate how wide this is. I got pretty long legs, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30 paces across that street. The freaking widest main street in America. I gotta be honest with you, I came here originally with the express purpose of fulfilling my obligation, my gag, right? Oklahoma, Oklahoma, dirty rotten scoundrels. But now, it's so quiet and weird, I feel spooked. What the heck? Oklahoma, 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 Oklahoma. Talk about enjoying Oklahoma's wide open spaces. Dang, all right, well, I don't know. I was gonna end here, but I don't think I can. That was a downer. Maybe I can keep driving and find one other thing, something else. End it on a high note. I gotta get out of here, dude. I feel like I do, as you can see, you know, I'm writing a love letter to American small towns every day out here, but this one spooked me a little bit, man. Like Children of the Corn or something. Dude, maybe I shouldn't have talked about tornadoes, you know? I don't want to summon them, but apparently I don't have much choice in the route I'm gonna go because we have to avoid a severe thunderstorm that would be in the more direct path to where I'm thinking about getting to Route 66 hotel. Oh, I gave it away right there. Thinking about getting a hotel on Route 66 probably. Like I said, that's the main route back to California. And I do have to start making actually some westward progress. Doesn't mean we can't fill that trip with side trips while we can, but yeah, man, I gotta be home. My wife's sister is getting married, so I guess my sister-in-law getting married, and gotta take Allie up to the wedding to be the maid of honor. Boy, that sky, I mean, it's pretty normal looking for out here, but also because it's a little ugly, man. Like everything's got, the mood has shifted. Dude, there isn't even cell phone service anymore, which is very weird, even in the heartland of America these days. Something about Marshall, dude, it's like a black hole. Kind of interesting, kind of fascinating. I kind of want to come back, you know? Walk upstairs in those buildings. I'd probably fall through, though. Where are all these vintage trucks coming from to get to the co-op? Weird. It's like we're frozen in some kind of time warp. All right, I gotta put the pedal to the metal. All right, I found a little highway that'll take me around the storm. Oklahoma 51 out here, and we'll see where I can drop you guys off for the night, because I'm still at least an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes away from my hotel. All I see out here are oil pumps and fresh asphalt, so I'm gonna lay it down. All right, well, here's a little bit bigger of a town, a little life in this one. Hennessy, Oklahoma. Plenty of people milling about. Nice old retro Pizza Hut over here. See a couple of Sinclair dinosaurs. Those don't seem big enough for an ending. Let's go downtown. Another little pro tip for you if you're ever traveling is the main road through a town will usually be a business route or the big highway or even the interstate. Don't do that. Always look for the main street, you know, the first street, the downtown, and just take an extra 10 minutes to just cruise off the highway and explore it when you go through towns. You never know what you can find. Hopefully we find something good down here. Can you tell I'm getting a little tired? Ah, dude, I don't hate this. And after Marshall, this feels like New York City or something. Hennessy, Oklahoma. Got a little mercantile out here, a couple of cafes and bars and grills. Nice small town murals, mostly to do with oil drilling, as you would expect in this part of the world. I can see a vintage Sinclair gas station way down the street, but since we had the most vintage one today, or the most continuously operating one anyways, I'm gonna go the other way. I'm gonna go backwards a little bit because it looked like there was some kind of like little park or something. Oh, this is kind of cool, right? The historic ranch room. Doesn't look that historic on the bottom. It's funny when you get those like mid-century, oh, what the heck? Look, I forgot all about this. Okay, we're gonna have to save the details for a future episode if we ever get the chance. Look at this. John Wilkes Booth lived here from 1899 to 1902 in the upstairs boarding house under the alias David E. George. There's a whole conspiracy theory, and I think Enid and this town and a whole bunch of little towns in Oklahoma, that a local resident named David E. George was in fact John Wilkes Booth, and that he survived, and the guy that actually died was just a fall guy. So according to their legend, their tale, John Wilkes Booth lived upstairs right here. It's kind of like the Brushy Bill thing. Or what was the guy that claimed that he was Jesse James and he had escaped and died in old age, right? Every town's got a legend. Okay, maybe not every town. Maybe every other town? Every region? Some places have legends. All right, to be honest with you, this was not the big finish I was looking for. Maybe we'll roll back up on the other side of the highway, see what's going on over there. Oh, come on, Oklahoma. Come on, don't let me down, Oklahoma. This is America for oh my gosh, yes! I knew America wouldn't let me down. Oklahoma for the win. Look at this. Holy John Wayne's headgear. That's probably the biggest goddamn cowboy hat I have ever seen. Oh yeah, look at that. You can ride that hat right into a twister. Look at the size of that thing. It's gargantuan. I'd take it home with me, but I don't think it fits in the car. Man, I would have hat envy if I didn't already have the greatest hat of all time on my head. I was gonna say holy cow, but it's more like holy cowboy. Thank you, Oklahoma. A 24 by 32 foot cowboy hat that weighs 12,600 pounds. I don't think that I could top that. Unless I found a giant top hat, well then it would top it. Dang, and I thought the weirdest thing about this town is they thought John Wilkes Booth survived and lived out here, as if he'd moved to Oklahoma. He was a Marylander. Well, thank you, Hennessy. Thank you, Casey's. Whoever is responsible for this, you've helped me fulfill the quest today. You've helped me do my duty. Now I can hotel and sleep well. Still not exactly sure where yet. I haven't booked it, but I guess, my friends, we're at the end. The batteries are gonna die. I'm just glad I get a ride out of here in a car instead of taking an old burro. Dude, a giant cowboy hat, a beer cave, clean restrooms, and a little local history. What else could you ask for? All right, guys, this is the part of the video where I'm supposed to remind you to subscribe and ring the bell and like and share the video if you want to see more adventures like this, or join us on our Patreon, or shop at our merch store, do all the things, which are all linked at randomland.com. Unfortunately, the sound wasn't working right here. I got no audio of this part, so I have no idea what I was saying in front of these cows and this cowboy. But yeah, randomland.com, that'll do you good with all the other links. And until then, see y'all further on down the dusty trail. Go home or sleep well. Oh wait, there was one part where it did get the audio. Ugh. Oh, it's a wall.